Hello and welcome to Iron Dinos. I'm Shaun and I'm here with Adam.
Hey!
Games of gold may be no more, but the memories remain. So this video, we are going to list our 5 favourite games with gold, as well as the worst. So
Name and shame.
name and shame indeed. And to clarify, these are games we played for the first time as games of gold, not games we'd played before. So for example, Super Meat Boy is ineligible for me. It's one of the greatest games ever made. It was a games of gold, but I owned it and completed it long before it became a game of gold. So that cannot be on my list, okay? It's stuff that was new to us as a game with gold.
In 5th place for my Games of Gold, it is Worms Battleground.
Oh!
Now, I wasn't aware that it was a Games of Gold at first when I was trying to think of this stuff until I looked at it and I was like, oh, it is a Games of Gold. Oh, brilliant. I'm putting that in then. So yeah, it's Worms Battleground, which is a 2D artillery turn-based tactics video game. And
you're you're on our video for it though, right?
No,
we did a couple of videos of that. Are you not on that?
We did Worms WMD, I believe.
Oh,
which I think is a different one.
Oh, they're all the bloody same. It's the same as Armageddon that I was playing on the Dreamcast.
Exactly.
As long as you've not picked the 3D one.
No, exactly. No, that's why I thought, it would be allowed. It would cheat there. But yeah, so I have very fond memories of Worms. I've always played Worms games. I've always loved them. And yeah, when this came up with Games of Gold, of course I downloaded it straight away. So yeah, I love it. It's great. There's so many options that you can do in it, like crazy animations in it as well, and if you look at the videos, like crazy weapons as well, like a big iron donkey or whatever it was.
Yeah, one of the many doomsday weapons.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, I've always enjoyed this one. What about you? Have you played much Worms?
I've played tons of Worms over there. I was playing Worms on the Amiga, I guess.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Maybe the Atari ST, one of the two, when in the early days. Yeah, the first Worms game I actually purchased and owned was the one on the Dreamcast. But yeah, I've played many iterations. Like I said, I know the 3D one is terrible because I had it on like PlayStation 2, I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's in the new dimension. It's all 3D. It's gonna be awesome. Let's just get the Dreamcast back out. Nah, screw this.
Yeah.
So is this one you just play on your own versus the computer, or do you go online and play a bit with other people? Do you rope your kids and your missus in?
No, I got a mate who.
You have a friend outside the channel?
Yes, amazing. I know. It's crazy to think.
Get him in. That's how this works.
Get him involved. But yeah, no, we've been friends since about 16, and we both had a love of video games. And yeah, every now and then we jump on and we play a bit of Worms. But other than that, no, I just play versus the computer. I make it as crazy as possible, so I add as many AIs as I can, and yeah, it's just a crazy, good, fun time. I've always enjoyed Worms, so yeah, it makes my number 5 for sure.
My number 5 game with gold is Super Hot. Super Hot. This was a super cool. It's a first-person shooter puzzle game where time moves unbelievably slowly unless the character you control is moving, in which case it gets up to normal speed. So you'll be put in a room with a threat or a series of threats, usually enemies with a weapon like knives, guns, all sorts of things. And you have to survive the small action set piece that you are placed in, and some of them go on for quite a while. And yeah, like when they fire bullets, it will they will very slowly continue moving if you completely stop, but like really slowly. But so you can, as you do with most first-person shooters, you have a degree of control as to how fast you move. And this counts if it's the camera or if it's actual walking around as well. So you can do some of the coolest things, man. You know, someone can shoot you in the head and you can stop moving your controller and the gun will very slowly move towards your screen. And then you can just like slowly pan and watch it go past your head before turning round and killing them. Also, like, it was a budgetary constraint for how the game looked. So everything is like mostly shades of white and grey. There's very little colour, but what there is quite stuck, so it really stands out. Which gives it, like, they've taken a limitation, which I always love in games. They've taken a budgetary limitation and they've made something that looks unique and looks really stand out. And one of the most important things in any kind of first-person shooter or game of that ilk is a satisfying gameplay loop. So, like,
yeah,
you might be in a room with 3 guys and all you need to do is take those guys out, but there'll be a bunch of interesting things you can do to get round to that. It's not they run at you, you do them one at a time. There'll be, like, you can get a gun, you can fire a gun a couple of times and then throw the gun at them as well, and you can stop that in midair as you slowly... You can go grab it again if you're close enough. All sorts of awesome stuff. And when you defeat an enemy, they kind of it's like they're made of glass, so they kind of shatter, which is a really cool little effect. And yeah, it gets really challenging by the end. It's genuinely an absolutely fantastic first-person shooter and an absolutely fantastic puzzle game. All mixed into one, and the sequel is out now, and I've played a chunk of that as well, and it's also extremely good. Have you ever played this one?
No, but I do remember it. Yeah, it took me a while to remember but then by your description, yeah, it triggered some memory, and yeah, no, I remember this one. Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal game. Absolutely phenomenal game.
Okay, my number 4 with Games of Gold is Aero. Now, Aero is a rhythm action rail shooter, and it's got some really lovely mechanics in it. Like, so the rail shooter bit, if you don't keep to the rail on this, you lose some of the music. So if you want some of the music in this, 100% stick to that rail and you'll get 100% of the music. And the music is awesome. It really is good. And it's got some real good graphics to it, but kind of like in a basic way, but they've done it really well. And they've got some awesome enemies as well, and they've got really interesting aiming thing to it as well. So you kind of twist the right stick to aim and a cursor will pop up, and then just as you glide over the enemy it will highlight it, and then it's got a maximum, I think it's got a maximum of, like, I think it's 12 highlights or something along those lines, and then you can press shoot and then it will shoot out all your missiles. So yeah, that was really interesting to get hold of as well. And as you progress, as like with any game, but the difficulty increases, but it's not like a sharp increase. It's quite linear. It's quite nice. So it sort of prepares you for the next bit as well. And then it's got like a percentage rate, and then there's some extra targets there that you can pick up as well. And yeah, I just love this game. Like, I always turn it on and just like spend, like, I think each level is like maybe 4 or 5 minutes, so like you can just jump on if you've got a spare like 10 minutes and just knock one out, and yeah, it's absolutely great. I absolutely love this one. So yeah, that definitely made my top 4. So yeah, have you played this? Is it still on your Xbox?
Yeah, this is a brilliant game. It's an absolutely brilliant game. I've chipped away at it here and there over the couple of years since we got it.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I really like it. The music has been consistently excellent throughout. I remember getting towards the end of the first chapter and there being a giant dune-based sandworm, which was awesome.
Yeah, love that.
No, this was a fantastic game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Love all the enemies. I think the last enemy I faced was a big, massive spider. So that was cool to take out. So yeah, no, I love that. And it's the targeting isn't difficult, but it is challenging. So I love that about it as well. Like, it's got its challenging elements. But you can still just relax with it and chill out to the music. And yeah, no, absolutely love it. Really, really good game. Really well done.
So my number 4 is no stranger to this channel. It is We Were Here. We've played 2 of them in their entirety so far for this channel. It is a multiplayer co-op puzzle game that ranges between deceptively simple and fiendishly challenging. I had never played a co-op puzzle game before in my life, or of that type, and I definitely never played one remotely in the way that We Were Here needs to be played. And when me and Jason first did it, we were mucking around, we didn't quite understand it, and I thought it was trash. And Jason convinced me to play more of it, and I'm like, oh, well, this is great. I'm going to absolutely trash this crappy game, you know. I thought it was going to be a bit of a laugh. And we were almost immediately sucked into it.
Yes.
We were absolutely just brought into the world and brought into how this plays, and our dynamic, having been friends for God knows how many years beforehand, allowed our personalities to kind of shine through as we played. And like, even now, me and Adam are now playing Escape Academy. That's because We Were Here happened. That is how all of this comes from. We Were Here. And I've started buying puzzle games for myself. I've bought loads of single player puzzle games because I'd played a couple before, but I played games like Tacoma and Talos Principle and stuff like this. All vaguely slightly sad sci-fi versions, but you know, all of these games. There was another one that was Against the Gold a little while ago, where you've got 2 gloves, one pulls a block, one pushes a glove. Like loads of these kind of 2D puzzle, like 3D kind of environment-based puzzle games that I would never have played before. So it's given me a love for an entire genre of video games, and let alone the actual games themselves, which I think are magnificent. We Were Here Together is eventually coming, but yeah, Adam, I know you love We Were Here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And interestingly enough, it was gonna make my top 5 in the 4th position, funny enough, but upon reading the rules, I suddenly realised I couldn't add it because I've actually never played it. Now, I know so much about this game and all the other games, and I'm such a fan of it, but I've yet to play it myself. So yeah, I couldn't include it. But yeah, it's an awesome game, absolutely awesome game. The story just will suck you in, and
or
the way
if you watch the trailers I make, the weird meta story I've been creating is also great. I love that so much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. and just seeing like you guys play it, and you know, obviously I've known Jason a really long time. I've known you like a fair amount of time now as well. So yeah, it's awesome to see you sort of going backwards and forwards with each other, and you're your ways of dealing with puzzles are completely different.
They really are.
Both effective, but both very different. So it makes for some very interesting conversations between you two. Especially when one can't see the puzzle that you're currently doing.
Yep.
And you're trying to give them a clue to where you are. And it's like, oh, wow. Yes, absolutely awesome. Because it's meant to be played over the game radio as well.
Yeah.
But everybody I've spoken to says that's impossible. It's
it just doesn't work. It literally does not work. And not to the point where we can't hear each other. Like we tried it and we tried it and tried it, and we tried it with the second game, having years worth of experience having done the first one. Literally, we get into a game together and it says you need to connect something to allow the walkie-talkie thing to. It just comes up with an error screen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, most players play it on like Discord or over Xbox Game Chat or something like that. So
to be fair, I did say to Jason, this is getting into the technical stuff now. When we had this problem when we did the first couple of videos and we started playing the games, I looked online to see if there was a solution, but I also looked to see if there was a penalty. So like, is there only a certain amount of charge for the walkie-talkies, or do they cut off over? Yeah. But I couldn't find anything to say that was the case, so I didn't feel we were cheating in doing it the way we were doing. We weren't giving ourselves an advantage because we'd have been able to just use the walkie-talkies the whole time. So, like, it would have been cute that you'd have to hold down that trigger the whole time to hear to speak and then let go of it to hear the other person. That would have added a small amount of additional challenge, but not enough that I felt what we were playing and the way we were playing it was unfair or a poor representation of the game.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm sure the developers know this as well, and like they've kept it in the game. It's almost like a running joke now. It's just like they know the walkie-talkies don't work too well, but they add it in anyway.
Yeah, because like the first game was like a university project or something, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's right.
And then they've recently released. Well, I say recently, within the last year, as of now, which is the end of August 2023, they just released the 4th onto Steam, which I am assured is coming to Xbox. So,
yes, yeah. I've read up on a little bit on that one as well because I'm a big fan. I follow it. So yeah, it's meant to be awesome.
Yeah. So
really, really good.
Yeah, and they've done well out of this. Touch wood, because the first one was a game with gold, but Jason and I both bought a copy of 2 and 3. We actually bought a bundle with all 3 games in because it's cheaper than buying 2 separately. Cool. And we're going to do 3, and we have spoken, and we're going to buy 4. It's called Forever, I think. We were here forever.
Yes, that's it. We're
going to buy that, and I'll eventually do that. That's
what Games of Gold gave you as well. So
absolutely,
it's awesome.
Absolutely, like for the for branching me out into an entirely new genre of gaming. There's no way this could not have made the list just for that, without what it's done for the channel and the joy it has brought me playing it with Jason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Wonderful game.
Okay, in third position for me with the Games of Gold is The Raven, and it's a remastered version, and it's a point-click adventure, and you start off on a train, and you're playing a police officer, and you're trying to work out. Initially you're trying to help guard a diamond that this master thief called the Raven is going to steal, and you're working with a famous detective, and he doesn't think very much of your skills. yeah, it's a detective story, and it's fascinating. And before Games of Gold, I would have never picked up a point-and-click adventure, never. I just wouldn't have done it. But now I love them, and yeah, this was one of the first, so it had to go in my top 5. And yeah, just absolutely awesome game. And I think I'm about 75% of the way through. So yeah, I'm a fair way into it now, and I'm still like really addicted to this game. I don't get a lot of time to play these games, so that's why it's taking me so long. But yeah, I'm always going back to this. So yeah, did you keep it? Have you played it yet? What's the deal with you on this one?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it for the channel and everything, to get an idea. I don't really have the patience for point-and-click adventures that aren't based on properties I already love.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, I've played all the Sam and Max ones, and funnily enough, I was actually, like, buying Telltale games before pretty much anyone had heard of them. When they were doing, like, they got the license to Sam and Max and did a few of them, but yeah, with the Raven, it was it's not my style of game, so I didn't play much more of it than probably you saw in the video, to be honest with you.
Yeah, as I say, it is an awesome game, and if you've never picked up a point-and-click adventure, I advise this one to start off with. It's awesome. It's proper, like, detective, working it out, and it's not like there's only a certain amount of things to click and you've got to find them all, and then once you've found them all, you've solved it. There's loads of things to click on, and some of them have nothing to do with the actual, like, working out of the particular bit of puzzle that you're working out. So yeah, it really is. You've got to think, and you got to try and work it out, and right, I've got to find this. Okay, where would that be? Okay, let's try over there. And yeah, it's awesome. And you got to really interview the people. That there's loads of options. So if you ask them a certain thing, 3 more options will pop up. Whereas if you never ask that, those 3 options will never appear for you. So you've really got to ask the right things as well. And yeah, it really is good. It's as I say, I'm not spoiling the story at all by saying this, but as I say, you start off on a train, you end up on a cruise ship, and then you end up in a museum, and that's where I'm at the minute.
So he's doing Poirot's greatest hits.
Basically, yeah. Yeah. I mean, think of all the famous detective stories, Murder on the Orient Express type thing, and it's all like that. It really is all like that.
Yeah, but it's done with a wit and a charm and a knowing nod.
Yes, exactly. As there are a lot of nods, should I say, or Easter eggs to the greats. So yeah, it's really good. It's done really tastefully, and yeah, and the graphics, although not great, is more than pleasing to the eye. Yeah, it's good. So yeah, had to make my number 3 spot.
My number 3 goes to Kingdom 2 Crowns, a game that if you had described it to me, and when I saw it revealed as a game of gold, I dismissed as a crappy mobile phone game that I was not going to like. And I got obsessed with it, and I played so much of it on my Xbox, I also bought it on my phone. I adore this game. It is so simple and so complex at the same time. It needs you to play hours and hours of it fail to truly understand how to play the game, and then to understand how to get the most out of a playthrough of this game. It's literally like your mechanics are effectively, you can walk right and left, and as you do so, you'll come across things that you can interact with. such as build or chop down a tree and stuff like that. And you've got these followers and you command them to do it, but each action takes some money. And when you complete an action, so you chop down a tree, that will give you some money, and you use then that to pay the other guys. But what you need to do is you need to slowly build an encampment, and then you need to quickly build a fortress, and then, you know, night comes, and these little goblin-y dudes come along, and they try to wreck everything you have achieved up to this point. And they get, slowly but surely, the waves get bigger and the monsters get more complex until you're just dealing with giant lumbering behemoths and flying monsters that can come straight over all of your defenses and all sorts of stuff. And there's so much to find, and there's so much to interact with, and there's so much hidden within the game. That I've done one complete playthrough, but that's not a complete playthrough because I couldn't figure out how to do a couple of certain things. So each island is procedurally generated. It doesn't change when you go back to it, and they are finite. But there's little extra things you can do on every island. You can go back to them, and if you go back to them, obviously that will have been somewhat ravaged by the monsters while you've been away, so you may have to rebuild that, and then you come back to your further one. That will have been dealing with the greater monster, so you're then kind of screwed over there. There's so much to do, and it's all done with this striking pixel art that makes absolutely everything kind of pop and look unique and appealing. Like I said, and it's something, when I saw it, when we were going to do it for the channel, I had dismissed it as like a mobile phone style game, but my god, did this thing get its claws into me. And I still play it now. I will still just chuck it on for 20 minutes or so to check in on the kingdoms that I have made that have succeeded on the monsters, and just kind of walk around proudly because I don't want to start a new game yet. But I've also bought at least one of the... because they kept giving you more content as well. I think there are 3 campaigns in the version that was given as a game with gold, and there's like one or two more as well. And I've bought one of those, which I haven't played yet. But yeah, I absolutely, this game got its hooks into me, and I became obsessed. Adam, I'm sure you're going to say something similar. I know you also loved this game.
Oh yeah. This is still my Xbox, and I've attempted my first playthrough, and as you say, failed miserably. And I got to the, I can't remember now, it was the 3rd or 4th island, and the monsters kicked my ass. And because then I suddenly realised that's not how you're meant to play the game.
No.
So yeah, I've now got to go back and start a new playthrough and do it the way I think it now needs to be done, just to progress beyond that 4th island. So yeah, it's an absolutely awesome game. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, it's really something special. Really something special.
Okay, in my number 2 slot for Games of Gold had to be Hydro Thunder Hurricane.
Hey!
And, such a good game. So this is a boat racing video game, and it's awesome. It's everything you picture an arcade game should be, and it's colourful. The graphics are good, and the racing elements are good. It's responsive to the controls. I think they've done the water mechanics quite well as well, and there's lots of hidden secrets and lots of things you can like, just by changing your boat, it will change your experience within the race. And not every boat responds the same way, and yeah, it's absolutely awesome. And some of the stuff they've got in the levels as well, like all the levels are completely different, and it's just such an awesome game. I first got introduced to this when the guys played it on the channel, but then it came back. It came back to Games of Gold, so I got to download it and play it for myself. So yeah, it was absolutely awesome.
We got a little confused on that because I've looked through the list. It was a Games of Gold twice.
Yeah,
but I think it was also on Game Pass because I didn't own it.
Oh, right.
So I think half of us had it as a Game with Gold and the other half of us were playing it on Game Pass.
Right, I see.
But I have
yeah.
my claim to fame. I've literally played the arcade of this. It's awesome. They had a thing in Norwich. Like, it's a full thing that you sit in. Like, it's a bit like a, your old Ridge Racer and stuff like that. Oh, it's awesome.
Wow.
So awesome.
Oh, I'd love to do that on this game, yeah. It's so... very rare do you come across a racing game that's so good that it's easy enough to pick up, but it's also challenging at the same time, along with really good responsive controls. Most of the racing games you'll pick up, they'll fail at least one of those. But yeah, this is just ticked all the boxes. Yeah, if you're a racing addict, then download this. This is awesome. Will definitely be well worth your money. So yeah, absolutely awesome.
Yeah, it's Mario Kart in a boat. It's that level of like so easy to pick up and play, and so easy to be passable at it. But there is a depth there that you can really master.
Oh yeah, just how you take a corner. In some video games, it doesn't matter. Like, you can just boost around the corner, but in this, no. Like, if you boost around certain corners, you will crash and you will blow up and you will waste time. Like, you've really got to drive the corners and do them in the correct way, and it will get you a really good time. And then as you progress, you upgrade your boat, which will then give you some new challenges. It might not be so responsive in the air, or when you get airtime, or its boost might not be as good as your other one, but the top speed is a lot better. So yeah, it's got so many different options to do with the boats and how you race, and yeah, it's just fun from start to finish. And I always turn this on and give it a little go, and tick off another little award, and that unlocks something new. And yeah, and it's not just the racing; it's got like a ring race as well. So you got to go through all the rings, and yeah, all sorts of different modes like that. So yeah, it's absolutely awesome. Had to make my top 5, and almost made my top 1, but something just beat it. So yeah, this is a number 2. Yeah.
My number 2 is Shantae, Half Genie Hero. This immediately looked utterly up my street. It's a beautifully detailed cartoon world. It is an action platformer / Metroidvania, and it's by WayForward, who the level of charm they put into every game they have ever made is just off the charts. So this appeared on as a Game with Gold, and I'm like, okay, I'll play a bit of this. And I played a little bit of it, and I didn't quite understand it. I didn't quite get it. And I left it for a little while. And I came back to it when it wasn't like for the channel or anything like that. It was just, I have some time. What do I want to play? Do you know what? I want to give that Shantae thing a second go. And it absolutely hooked me to the point that I played all of that. There were a load of extra modes that came with it. They did like a deluxe edition, so I got that and got the extra bonus content, and I have since gone through and played every other game in the series. This is a Game with Gold that not only gave me a game I hold in incredibly high esteem, but about 6 or 7 games that I now hold in incredibly high esteem, going right back to the bastard hard original that was on the Game Boy Advance or the Game Boy Color that I had to buy on the Switch because it's not on the Xbox, and it is brutal. At least up to a point it's brutal, and then you start getting abilities and it gets a lot easier. But geez, no, like all the characters in it are phenomenal. Like a lot of the recurring villains all have side arcs in each particular game that are largely hilarious. The squid boss, I forget what it's called, but that squid boss is my favorite character. That thing is absolutely hilarious and adorable. It's so great. Yeah, like, and it got a friend of mine into them as well. I was talking about it so highly, and he plays a lot of Metroidvanias, and he's like, "Oh, all right, well, I'll give it a go." And he's like, "Yeah, no, these are brilliant games." But yeah, love the Shantae series, and this Game with Gold kicked off my love for it. Did you play this one, mate?
No, I'd never played this one. I do know of it, but yeah, never got to play this one, so I might have to go get it.
It's beautiful, and it's so cute, and like Oliver, it's whimsical. It's whimsical, if nothing else. Like, all of her abilities, she does like a cute little dance and then transforms into animals and stuff. Oh, it's just, it's by and large everything I want out of a game. It's like, to me, it gives me that feeling of going back and playing a SNES game, but obviously you've got modern technology, so it looks better and everything like that. But it's just one of those things that goes to show you that you can make games in that old style and they can be as fresh and great now as they were 30 years ago. Yeah. Phenomenal game.
Okay, so to my worst. This really is naming and shaming, so I do apologise for if any devs are listening to this. But my worst is Street Power Football. Now,
really?
Yeah. Now this was a fairly recent one, and I don't like football games already. So when this came up, it was like already at a disadvantage. But this is all about tricks. Yeah, it's loads of different game modes where you can do tricks and to win and stuff like that. And if you're into football, don't get me wrong, you'll probably love this game. But I love football like real life. So, but I don't like football video games. I don't know what it is. Like, if you ask me what do you not like about them, I couldn't tell you. I just couldn't tell you. Like, there's just something about them that I do not like, and this unfortunately fell into that category. As soon as I turned it on, started playing it, it was like, oh no, I really don't like this. Like, straight away. And I found some of the controls a bit clunky, and I didn't like it's very colourful, but I didn't really like the graphics of it either, if I'm honest. And yeah, there's just loads of little things about it that I just really didn't like. I didn't like some of the game modes, because it's not just one game mode throughout. That there's quite a fair few. And there was, I think there was one game mode that I did enjoy. I think you're in a circle. I think me and Shaun actually played on the video, funny enough. And yeah, you're basically scoring like this tiny goal, trying to do tricks around each other to score. I quite enjoyed that bit. But yeah, other than that, yeah, really didn't enjoy it. So yeah, this it was touch and go with my worst. So it was sort of close running with a few others, but yeah, this gets my pick. So sorry. Did you play this one much?
I'm genuinely surprised. I thought it was all right, and I don't like football at all. I mean,
there you go.
it was towards the middle of the pack, you know, but I didn't see this one as particularly egregious, but yeah, fair enough. No, that's absolutely fair.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, like, so this is just my personal opinion. So because it's my personal opinion, it's how I enjoy games, and it's how. So I can see a football lover enjoying this game. Like, if you're a player that plays like all the FIFA games, you'll probably really enjoy this. Like, you really will. And those little things I mentioned, you'll probably just gloss over those and then just get used to them. So it won't be an issue for you whatsoever. But because I don't like football games, it just highlighted it even more for me. So yeah, personally, yeah, this might not necessarily be anything to do with the game. It's just more of a personal thing. So yeah, this had to make my worst spot. Yeah.
My wooden spoon has to go to one of the most disappointing games with gold, and that is Swim Sanity. I was so excited for this game. I thought, like, it was three of us at the time. I thought we could all get together and we could, like, all be on the screen and be blasting and everything, and just, like, there's over 40 years of games of shooting stuff in a large empty space and putting obstacles in the way. I don't understand how they could have made that game as unfun as it is. Like, I was getting, it's too slow, the fire rate is too slow, there's no urgency to it. Enemies are placed at a point where you cut, like, the screen's slightly too zoomed in, and enemies come at you at a point where it's more of a faff to avoid them. They take too many hits. Like, R-Type has been out for a long time. This is effectively R-Type with a thing following you. Like, all you need to do is make something as good as R-Type and allow 3 or 4 players to play it. And this would have been a great, very entertaining game. But just at every point that a choice needed to be made, they picked the wrong one. And this game is just frustrating and irritating and boring. And yeah, like, it gets my spot because it could have been so much more. It really could have been something. So like I said, I was so excited. We were all really excited for it. Right, it's going to make a great video. This could replace speedrunners that we used to, do as like a little chatty thing. And we all played it, and by and large we all had the same thing of, this is just naff. This is just not very good. My main highlight is the fact that it at least allowed us to play it online, unlike some other games. But no, this was just a bitter disappointment. And I'm really sorry to say that, because it could have, and it should have been something great.
Yeah. I mean, funny enough, this was the one I was arguing over with myself whether or not to put as my worst.
I mean, like just to level with you guys in the audience, this just comes up in conversation with me and Adam when we talk about that. Just at one point or another, one of us will go, "Oh, it's a shame about Swim Sanity, though, isn't it?" Yeah, it really is a bloody shame. That could have been. I know, right? It could have been so good. Like, it comes up in conversation how disappointed we were in this. So, yeah, it had to take my spot, I'm afraid.
Yeah, there's only one thing for me that saved it from my worst spot. And that's literally one thing about the game I could ever pick out, and that was I quite enjoyed the cartoony graphics and the thumbnail that it's got as the the front cover of the game. I think it looks quite cool. I was just like, well, that is a bonus, so yeah, alright, that one's out then.
But back to more positive things.
Okay, so my number one, my best games of Games of Gold that I've played has to be Portal 2. And this is a puzzle platform video game, and it's so good. Me and Shaun played through the multiplayer of it all the way to the end, and we had such a good time playing it. And I'm now playing through the single player, because I played through the multiplayer before even the single player. So yeah, and it's all to do. I say the main mechanic, as in the title, is the portal. So you got to put one portal on a wall and then find another position for another portal that will allow you to get from one side of the room to the other side of the room. And they've done loads of other little puzzle mechanics along the way to like to incorporate that. And so the portal is the main thing, and then you've got this ever so funny, cranky main. I suppose in a multiplayer it's your boss, but it's basically an AI, and I think her name is Gladys. I think it is
GLaDOS.
And GLaDOS.
Guys, before you want to kill Adam, he's not played the single player of Portal or Portal 2 yet. Okay, he will come to know about GLaDOS. Don't hunt him down and attack him. Okay?
Yeah. No, I'm just starting it, so yeah. So GLaDOS, and she's hilarious with everything she says, and I'm starting, having played through one, like the very beginning of the single player, I'm really starting to understand the difference between, obviously, the multiplayer version. She's she's your boss, but the other one, she's the enemy. So yeah, it's that's a really interesting thing. I'm discovering new. And the puzzles they're fantastic. They're challenging, but not to the point of impossible. Some of them are really funny. Some of the mechanics that you have to do to solve the puzzle will have you laughing out loud. And yeah, it's just, the graphics are great. The gameplay is great. The way they've written the whole thing. I can't say enough about this game. It's just such a good game. But yeah, like, I'm assuming it's still on your Xbox, Shaun.
Well, of course it is. But this was ineligible for my list, as I'd completed Portal and Portal 2 before this became a game of gold. Or obviously it would have been in my top 5. Of course it would have. It is one of the greatest games ever made. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It just is an absolutely incredible piece of work, both as a single player and, as Adam mentioned, as I discovered through the channel with him, it's a phenomenal multiplayer as well.
Yeah. I can just remember us laughing out loud with all the stuff we'd get up to in the multiplayer. For example, there's this like beam that you can travel along, that's like gravitating you across the other side of the room, but in order to activate it, your partner has to stand on the button, and it's one very simple click or flick of the controller and you're off the button and your friend drops to his death. It's awesome, absolutely awesome. It's great.
And my number one pick has to go to Celeste, which may come as a surprise to some of you who follow the channel, but no, I actually had not played this before it was a game with gold. I had heard repeatedly, and from everyone whose opinion I value, this is probably the greatest 2D platformer of all time. I'm like, yeah, I know, I will get round to it, and I didn't, and it came up with Game of Gold. I'm like, right, okay, I finally have Celeste. Let's see what this is all about. Surely it's not as good as everyone's... Oh my god, it's as good as everyone says it is! The premise is so simple. You are put in a room or a small area, and you need to get from point A to point B, preferably grabbing a strawberry on your way past. You will die, and you will die, and you will die. It's not unfair, but it is incredibly challenging. But the second you die, you reappear back at the start of that room. Less than a second is lost, and you're trying again, and you're trying again, and you're trying again. And all of the mechanics, for the most part, the mechanics are you versus a pit or you versus a thing covered in spikes. And you get different jumps. So you get like a double jump. For the a lot of it is hanging onto the side of walls. You can climb walls a little later on, and bounce and climb walls a little later on, and stuff like that. It distills everything that is great about platforming into one game that is almost... It's not a short game. It's certainly not lacking in content. It's got a beautiful, beautiful story that touched really close to home with me. It's about mental illness and warring with yourself and stuff like that. It's really, really phenomenal. But my God, this game, the mechanics are absolutely perfect. Its design is flawless. It looks beautiful. Anyone can pick this game up and play it. And with enough time, you will master it. But it will take time. And you meet like a few characters along the way, and they all have like a level of depth, and you kind of try to help each of them with one of their issues and stuff like that. It is the definition of a masterpiece. It is arguably the greatest platform game of all time. And it is one of my top 5 favourite games of all time. It is an absolutely phenomenal piece of work, and I cannot speak highly enough about it. What I can speak about is the B and C sides, because the game's quite tough, especially when you get to the end and you do all the extra bits. But every single level, it's kind of set up into... There's lots of rooms and lots of areas that you traverse to make up what is an area, but it's split into chapters, for want of a better word, which will bring on new challenges and new mechanics and stuff like that. But all of these have a B-side, which is 10 times harder than the first one. And all of them have a C-side, which is 10 times harder than that. I have not done the C-sides. They are too hard for me. I cannot do them. And I keep trying because the game is so good and so wonderful. I'll never get sick of it. I will never get pissed off of trying it. I just want to play more of this game. It is a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful work of art. I love Celeste, and I love everything about Celeste. I cannot speak highly enough about it. Did you ever play this one, mate?
No. I've heard, as you said, like loads of people banging on about this, but I've yet to pick it up. So I might do now.
Yeah.
I always plan to, but yeah, I might do it now. Now it's your number one. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, one of the greatest things that has ever been my privilege to play. So there you have it. That is Adam and my 5 top favourite games with gold, and our 1 worst. But Adam, is there anything that didn't quite make the list for you? Is there anything you wanted to give an honourable mention to?
Yeah, there was 2 games I wanted to give a mention to. The first one is Escapists 2. Now, this popped up on Games of Gold, and I'll say right off the bat, the reason I didn't pick it is because I played it before. So I couldn't
ineligible
pick it as per our rules. Yes, yeah, exactly. But Escapists 2 is a strategy role-playing game, and it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. You're escaping prison, and there's loads of different prisons. There's loads of different ways you can escape. You have to. So there's like a rhythm to the game. So it's like, okay, this is the wake-up time, and the bell will go off. Now it's breakfast time. Now it's exercise time, now it's job time, and you have to appear in all these places, otherwise the guard comes after you. But there's ways around it, and so you can get a bit of free time to yourself, so you can look through people's rooms and steal their stuff and combine stuff to like dig through the walls, or find a little corner to like start digging underground and then cover it with one of the desks, or jump up into the air conditioning units above. And there's just so much to these games. And yeah, you can edit your character how you want. The graphics is really awesome as well, and yeah, it's absolutely awesome game. I absolutely love this game. Did you play much of this?
Yeah, we did a video for the channel. Was it Christmas?
Yeah, it was one of our Christmas specials. Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, and the other one was Gears 5. Now, this, I know this is very much a love or hate on the channel, but I absolutely love them. And
He's saying that because I've made my dislike for it very clear, and that's to be fair, that's only because I disliked making the videos that we put out early, like the multiplayer, so much that it put me off playing the main game. It's like a little running joke in the channel.
Yeah. But again, I couldn't put it down as my top 5 because I've played it before. I'm a huge fan of the series. I've played all of them, and yeah, they're awesome in my opinion. The story mode is awesome. The how responsive the controls are. The only downside I'd say to it is they are very similar. The games, like the story changes slightly, but well, it changes a lot, but it's kind of the same premise. And yeah, like that is a big criticism of the game, but yeah, I still love them. I still love battling the Horde and going up against these massive enemies and shooting them down. And me and my wife still play this. We still play multiplayer on this and work our way through. So I think we've played through it 2 or 3 times now. So yeah, this will always be one of my favourites. But there is another one that got mentioned, but not on my list. Kingdom 2 Crowns. That was going to be on my list as my number 3rd spot, funny enough. And me and Shaun, we was convinced we was going to come up with some doubles. And this is how close...
I was absolutely convinced we would both have this in either our 2 or 3 slots. I'm amazed he didn't say it.
It came down to this or the Raven, basically, as my 3rd slot. And I couldn't pick. I went from day to day thinking, oh, no, I'm going to pick Kingdom 2 Crowns. Oh, but then the Raven... And then I thought about shoving the Raven down the list a bit, but I thought, no, it doesn't really deserve a number 4 slot. And I've really thought about this hard. So in the end, no word of a lie, it came down to a needy, meeny, miny, mo. Literally. And the Raven won. Sorry. So yeah, that's how close it came for us to get the same game in the same slot. So yeah, it was really close. But what about you, dude? What's any honorary mentions?
Yeah, well, I'm going to start with one that also was on your list and nearly made mine. It was Hydro Thunder Hurricane.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we've played that a bunch for the channel. I'm a really, really big fan of it. I still play it to this day. I've still never done everything on all of the courses. I know there are still some ramps I've yet to find and stuff like that. I really, really enjoy that game. And a few more to mention. The Secret of Monkey Island I'd never played before until it was a game with gold. That's an absolute masterpiece, but I didn't enjoy it as much. It's a point-and-click adventure. I didn't enjoy it as much as some of the other games on the list. From our last video about Games of Gold, Dust and Elysian Tale, phenomenal Metroidvania, as was Yoku's Island Express. I completed both of those, really loved those. Something that I bought the soundtrack of, and I still have on my phone to this day, and I still blast on, is Bleed 2. Like twin stick shooter bullet hell platform. I absolutely adore that game. And
you loved that when that came out. Yeah.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Absolutely fantastic. One we've got a few videos out for the channel. TT Isle of Man.
Yeah.
Not a racing game fan, but man, do I love cruising around that island on a bike. I find it very relaxing. Yeah. And lastly, one that I think went under a lot of people's radar but really hooked me is a game called Technomancer. It's a third-person role-play RPG in the Mass Effect vein. But you're in a dystopian, futuristic society where you can get... you're going to essentially get circuits or people... Only people with certain genetic codes can get this circuitry put in their system that gives them what would otherwise be magical powers. So force bolts and shields and stuff like that. It's like this really cool, really miserable cyberpunk kind of dystopian future thing merged with, if you put Mass Effect and what's the other one, Dragon Age, and mushed them together for like the swords and sorcery and the gunplay and stuff like that. It's kind of like that. Really, really great game. Very difficult as well, which I liked. That was really, really... That really tried to force its way onto the list, but the only reason it didn't is because I didn't complete it yet. It's a massive game, and it's one I chip at every now and again, but I've never given it my fullest of attention. That's a great game. But Adam, was there anything else vying for your position of worst game?
There was. The first one I'll mention was Swim Sanity, which
He's got a whole list.
Oh, I do. But yeah, Swim Sanity almost made my list. But as I've already said, I've already said the reasons. I quite like the graphics, so for that reason, it didn't make it.
It survived.
This is how petty my reasons were, because I couldn't decide. Right, that is literally how petty my decision was. The next one I'm going to mention. Now, I'm going to be fair, so do not rip my head off when I mention it.
Okay.
Because I know some people will. Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm going to be fair. Now, the reason it didn't make my list is because
It's a great game!
I'm a huge fan of the film series, and I've never played any of the games, even though they're on my list of games to play. And I love the storyline and everything around it, and that's the reason why it didn't make my list. But the reason it originally was on the list is because how they've done the controls really doesn't update well.
No, that's
for
fair.
me.
That's fair.
It was unplayable. I could not play it, and there was a section I just couldn't get past because of it, and it was frustrating as hell. I remember it being very frustrating, and I got really down about it, and I was like, but I really want to play it because it's Resident Evil, like some of the greatest films ever made, in my opinion. And so.
Well, I'll add to this, actually. Do you know what? I will defend Code Veronica to the death, right? I love that game. I played it on the Dreamcast. And I want to tell you, I might have mentioned this on the channel, I never completed that game because I got to the end boss and I hadn't been picking up the weapons required to defeat the end boss. So because I was playing the rest of the game, as the rest of the game was fine to play as I was playing the game. And then, when you get to the end boss, you have a very small amount of time to maneuver things. And you know what? I actually physically couldn't do it because the controls were so bad that I actually couldn't get to the rocket launcher I needed to finish the game. So I absolutely cannot knock you for not getting on with the controls, because when I'd played the entire game back in the day, up to that point, it was the controls that actually stopped me in the end from beating it. Well, that and my choices throughout, but that was, I wasn't expecting a giant end boss. It assumed you'd played a previous Resident Evil game that has giant end bosses, so I did not see it coming. So
yeah. No,
all right,
exactly.
I'll let you off for that.
Exactly. And so I was, but it's Resident Evil. I couldn't put it as my worst, because I love all the film. So yeah. So yeah, do you have any honourable mentions for the worst?
Yep, there's one I ummed and ahed about. But I didn't want I wanted my worst game to just not be a hit piece.
Okay.
And I think it was more important for me to talk about something I was disappointed by than Guts and Goals, which is just shit. And the fact that it doesn't have fucking online multiplayer is beyond a joke. That game can get in the goddamn bin. That game doesn't even deserve to be in a bin. Its code should be unravelled and scattered to the winds of time. I will say this about the game. The only thing I like about it is the clip of Zoidberg I put in the video I made of that game.
This is another one that comes up in conversation a lot, so yeah.
I have gone to bat and defended the last year of Games of Gold over and over again about getting stuff that's new or different or interesting that's on a budget. I cannot
absolutely
defend the inclusion of Guts and Goals.
Yeah. I ain't gonna defend it.
But that brings to a close our final Games with Gold video. Adam, have you enjoyed making this one?
Yes, yeah, absolutely enjoyed going through the list of games, and I don't mind telling you, there's a fair list.
Yeah.
The list is huge. We've played a lot, so
we have.
Yeah. So yeah, no, absolutely loved going through it. I think my initial list was something like 15 games. So
it's hard to whittle down, wasn't it?
Oh, very hard. So yeah, I think I got it to about 7 or 8, and I've mentioned all those. So yeah, that's yeah. What about you? You enjoyed it?
Yeah, fantastic. As I said in the intro, there were so many things that were just completely disregarded because I'd played them before. I mean, Deus Ex Human Revolution was a game with gold at one point. That may be my single favourite game of all time. If not, it's 2 or 3.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unbelievable stuff that has been games with gold. But if we just made this list for what we think is the best ever games with gold, then it becomes a very different list. You've then got to consider what's popular opinion. What do you think is, what speaks to you the most? All stuff like that. The best thing to do, which is what we did, which is just, of the things you got as a game with gold, what are your favourites and worst? Yeah. So.
Yeah, not including the games that have come up on Games of Gold that you've already played before.
Yeah.
So, which again makes it a very different list.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this has been fun. I've wanted to make a list video for a long time, and well, when I finish putting it together, let's see how much work it was and see if I ever want to do another one.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Games of Gold.
See you later, Games of Gold.